So welcome everyone. Uh, Thanks for joining us at the end of this summer. I hope everyone had a good summer. I did. And today we're going to discuss AI, reliability in manufacturing, digital transformation. I have the honor and pleasure to have John Hall from Novaspect and Adatify with me. John, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for kicking us off, and thanks everybody for joining us today.
Sure, John. Thanks for being there. For those who are familiar with our webinars, again, Johan, I'm the Director of Technologies for Spartacus. I've started this software 10 years ago. I'm a reliability expert, and I've used a little bit of technology here and there throughout my career. We'll use that knowledge as a base point for this presentation. John, you want to introduce yourself very briefly?
Sure. You can see from my profile, I've been in process control for many years, and last 5 years been really focused on data management, digitalization, and AI and analytics. So it's exciting times in industry right now, and so hopefully Johan and I can share some insights for you on the emerging AI space.
Sure, exactly. Thank you, John. As usual, Spartacus Technologies, partners in reliability engineering. We do PM optimization, asset management, reliability assessment, and we have a world-class APM software called Spartacus APM. We support many users in North America, mostly, and it's the central point for all CBM and PDM activities. John, you want to introduce Novaspect?
Absolutely. So as Novaspect, a longtime Emerson Impact partner, and as you can see from our display of our portfolio, we have a lot of tools in the portfolio that are Emerson based, but we also have many that are non-Emerson based, and Spartacus APM is one of them. But we'll be talking about a couple of the tools in the data management and analytics space and workflow space today. Thanks, Johan.
Thanks, John. So I think you wanted to talk about AI as the shiny new object to start with.
Yes. I don't know what you all are seeing, but every week I am seeing something new out there, which is super exciting. But there is the shiny new object scenario where we have to look at the new offerings with the proper context. And if you can advance, Johan, there's a lot of attractiveness to what's being presented to us, right? For example, that new grill that is definitely that shiny new object. Is it really what we need right now, or that similar tailgate with the cooler and the Bluetooth speakers? Do we really need that right now? Is now the time for us to invest in that? Keep going, Johan. This super cool Yeti cooler, right? Something that we could all appreciate and would want to have in our presence, right? Again, another shiny object, along with the all-in-one toolkit, and excellent tools. And we're going to be presented with similar tools in the industrial marketplace, likely every week for a long time, moving forward. And really the context of today's presentation and event is to prepare us for that and make sure that we're doing all the right things so that we are prepared to take advantage of those new shiny new objects as they're released. So Johan,
Exactly.
it's all yours.
Perfect. Thank you, John. And before we get going, let's do a little poll. So Vince is going to activate the poll. Is going to appear on the Teams window. Are you ready to implement those AI tools? Are you already using them, exploring the possibilities, still working on the basics? And ask me once again, once my CMMS stopped crashing on Fridays. Right? Let's. So if you hit one of the answers, you'll see the votes showing up on the screen, and I'll be commenting them as they as they go. So for now, we have a strong, a very strong presence of still working on the basics. So you guys are aware probably of the benefits that AI can bring, AI and digital transformation as a whole can bring. But yes, there's a lot of fundamental elements that must be in place. All right. So thank you for answering that poll, people. That's great. Thank you, and let's get going. So that presentation will be divided into a few sections. We're going to talk about AI in general. I like to always like to go to the basics, the definitions, and so we'll spend some time on that. We'll talk about the reality check, why it often fails to deliver ROI. We'll talk about digital maturity and the sixth stage of digital maturity, especially, and we'll talk about next steps, how to build your own roadmap with regards to DX. Whenever you have questions, you can, write them down into the chat box as usual. And we'll save some time at the end for some questions, of course. Feel free to intervene at any time. And let's go. So the AI Utopia. Let's put some clarification there. So AI is a very, very broad umbrella. Um, Last year, I went to a conference, and it was organized by a firm that is very specialized in technologies, sales, success management, and the topic of that conference was AI, artificial intelligence. So it was every sentence that was said was about AI, 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 and I was a bit kind of disappointed because um, it was always very blurry. We should invest in AI, and companies are starting to use AI tools. But then you're like, okay, what type of tools? What exactly do these artificial intelligence models do? And I got no answer from that. All right, so it's very very broad, and it's often very blurry. So let's just classify the different types of AI there is out there, classified by capabilities. And there's different ways of classifying those AIs, right? I chose the capabilities type of classification here. So the first one is narrow AI, right? It's the most common thing that you know. You've probably used narrow AI for a few years, like Siri, for example, Alexa. Those of you who have ever owned a chessboard, I remember when I was a kid, I had a chessboard, a Kasparov chessboard, right? This was early artificial intelligence, right? But they're very, very limited. They're extremely good at doing one thing, like ChatGPT, for example, is excellent at generating text, right? Or images, content, right? But ChatGPT will have very difficulties, being image recognition system, or being very good at identifying a person on the camera, right? It's very good at something, so it's kind of siloed, right? Um, then the other way to classify AI would be to use general AI. That's the next type of evolution. General AI, AGI, and we'll talk about AGI a bit more in a few minutes. Still hypothetical. It's not achieved yet, right? The goal with AGI, general intelligence, is to perform a task that only a human can as of today, right? So there's a little bit of parameters at stake there. We'll talk about this on the next slide. And then there's the super intelligent AI, the one that you see on, science fiction movies. For now, it's still very theoretical. It could potentially surpass human intelligence in every possible fields, and it's the center of attention, and the center of debates, especially when it comes to ethics. What should we do? What should we not do with regards to AI, right? But at this point, it's still very theoretical. Um, so what is intelligence? And you could take just 5, 10 seconds, think about it yourself. What is intelligence? What would you define as the intelligence? So I'm just going to give you a few seconds, and then I'm going to give you my answer. My answer is that it's the ability to learn, adapt, and solve new problems and new tasks. So it involves learning, acquiring new skills. It involves reasoning and problem solving, like a puzzle. For example, we see this little guy here, very, very, very smart, capable of solving 3 Rubik's cubes puzzles at the same time while juggling. It's certainly very impressive. There's adaptability. It's good to have a recipe, but what if the plan changes? Well, you have to adapt. Right? And also, there's generalization. It's good to have a recipe for a certain context, but then you're placed into a different context. And does it work, or will you have to adapt? Right? So these are various types of subtypes of intelligence. You need to learn, you need to solve problems, you need to adapt, and you need to generalize. There is a way to measure intelligence, and there's the RKGI Association. You can look up online. It's pretty interesting what they do. Simply, how to measure intelligence is how quickly can you learn new skills. So they've developed a kind of puzzles. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I have these puzzles here. So the puzzles are like this, and you can play along if you want. You go on the RKGI site, and you'll have some examples of color schemes here. So you've got your input, and this is the output. You've got your input, this is the output. So based on a couple of examples, you should fill out here that blank canvas here using the colors that you see at the bottom. Some of them are a bit simple, some of them are much more complex, right? So this is the basics of RKGI, and what they do is that they test the models, how quickly they can adapt, learn about the different shapes and forms, and create an output. So they measure the speed, the time it takes to solve these problems, and also the accuracy. So the actually the how good they are at solving these problems. So here they have kind of a leaderboard of the various models out there. Here you can see human panel. So currently humans, you and I and everyone here in this webinar, we're almost perfect, and we function at a certain cost, right? So a certain cost is, of course, well, our brain uses, watts. We have a certain power in our brains to solve these problems, right? But it takes us some time, right? Because these puzzles can be very complex, right? So it takes us sometimes, and really, you can look at the various models out there. We're not going to look at all of them, of course, but there's a couple of them. The blue ones here are the OpenAI models, and if you follow the sequence of OpenAI models from 01, 02, 03, 04, it took them only a few months to go from, very poor in terms of score, like 20% good at solving these puzzles, to more than 60, 70%. Just it took them between 12 and 16 months to get there. So you can imagine the speed at which these models will soon get very close to what humans can do. And what RKGI does is that they are promoting those manufacturers of models to get better and better, and there's a grand prize of $1 million if you reach that area here. So the first model that will reach that area here will win $1 million. So if ever you guys want to take the test, just build your own model, make it arrive here into that area here, and you'll be a millionaire, right? So pretty interesting, and so pretty could be scary because it's going so fast, very, very, very fast, and but also it means that these models are getting closer to general intelligence, right? So solving complex problems, adapting, and generalizing their knowledge. So yeah, interesting, scary at the same time. All right. Intelligence in the industrial context. Let's go back to our field, right? Human intelligence in an industrial plant. Well, we use pattern recognition based on experience. We know the sound of a motor, the sound of a gearbox, because we can walk that past that piece of equipment every day, right? So we know how it should sound, how hot it should be. We can solve problems under an uncertainty. We can adapt. We can be aware of the context, right? It's very hot because yeah, it's summer, so that's why there's an increase in the temperature of some roof fans, for example, and we can innovate. Artificial intelligence in industrial plant, they can do massive data crunching. Uh, this is something that most human will be able to do. It will take them hours, days, weeks to crunch what some models can do in just a few seconds, right? So because they're very good at massive data crunching, they can be very good potentially at predicting future failure. They're very good at optimizing, process systems in general. They are very consistent, and since they're very consistent, they are also very scalable, these models. So the $1 billion question is, will we be replaced by AI? So there's a couple of tasks that AI will definitely replace the human, for sure, like monitoring and inspection. I'm sure you've seen a couple of these robo dogs. You can train them to walk your plant, right? And they're going to inspect the bearings. They're going to take temperature measurements. They're going to take pictures. They're going to take ultrasound measurements. So once trained and under certain conditions that are very, very specific, yes, they can do these routine inspections. They can provide some diagnostic. They can take care of a lot of paperwork, administrative work, do quality control. So typically something that is very, brain intensive can be easily replaced by AI and digital transformation. But guess what? There's a lot of stuff that these models, robots, AI cannot do. It doesn't mean that they will never be able to do it. Maybe at some point, robots will completely replace millwrights and maintenance technicians. Maybe. But at this stage, I don't see that happening anytime soon. And you can just picture a robot trying to replace a motor that just failed. Currently is just not happening, right? Because the everything that is just like data crunching analysis, something that is very using the use of brain, yes, can be easily replaced. But when it comes to mechanical movement, moving from one thing to another place and changing a motor, you need to be careful about the surroundings. You need to use your creativity. You need to use your, safety ethics. Make sure you don't harm people that are around. Well, it's not happening anytime soon, right? So there's still a lot of work, especially in the industrial work, that will remain human work for a long time. So with that being said, should we say no to AI digital transformation? Well, the thing is, no, we cannot, because even though you are the best performer today, well, tomorrow with new tools and new technologies, well, you'll just be the second best performer. Right? There's always going to be a margin of improvement every day, every month, every year. I showed you the graph, the general intelligence graph. It just took a few months to these models to go from 20% efficient at solving complex problems to 60 to 70% efficient. So it's no longer an if, it's a when it's going to happen. So why it often fails to deliver ROI, this digital transformation and AI? I've been to places where the decision was to put sensors all over the place. Vibration analysis sensors. Let's use that as an example. And you can use whatever brand you want, doesn't matter. Let's put sensors all over the place. Without the proper cybersecurity infrastructure and without the proper data training and training on how to handle all of this influx of data, the probability is that people are going to be drowning in data and information. If you don't have the proper foundation, if you don't have the proper structure to handle all of this, you're going to be drowning in information. So if we take an example and take a scenario where we have a piece of equipment that fails due to a lack of grease, a motor installed on a pump, very critical pump or very critical conveyor. So the maintenance manager will say to its maintenance team, do we have that motor in stock? And the maintenance team or the reliability engineer will say, sorry, boss, well, that motor is not part of our master equipment list. Right? And I'm sure some of you guys have ever faced that. We have a motor installed on a piece of equipment, but it's not listed in our parts list. Let's continue. Okay, anyway, let's order a new motor right now. Well, first we're going to need to get the specs and look for the same model type or equivalent, and that might take a while, right? Okay, all right, so losing a bit of time. Okay, but this is a very critical piece of equipment. How come we weren't prepared for this? We never did any criticality ranking exercise. So that piece of equipment, that motor, or let's say that conveyor in general, was not ranked as super critical as compared to the other conveyors or the other pieces of equipment in the plant. And then the maintenance manager will say, okay, so that's why we never greased this motor properly. And yes, exactly. It was considered run to fail. There was no need to have it in our greasing routes. So the question would be, do you think AI or DX tools, sensors all over the place might have helped avoiding that situation? And we have a poll showing up on the screen. What do you guys think? Could we have avoided that situation with AI, DX, sensors, whatever? I see some yes, I see a couple no's, and I see a couple of maybes. And well, my answer will be maybe. Yes and no. It's maybe a yes, maybe a no. The thing is, let's say you've had a lot of sensors all over the place, and you're not in control of that data, that influx of data, and the asset health in your plant site. Well, it's just another blinking sensor over your dashboard, right? Among a lot of other blinking sensors. So maybe these tools would have helped you identifying, yes, there was an issue, but you were so busy, handling the rest that it would have been just another alert in the system. So yes and no. It's a yes, and it's also a no. So we'll talk about those this structuring and these foundational elements that you have to put in place later in the presentation. John, let's talk about the digital maturity.
All right. You can go to the next slide. So for those that haven't seen a similar slide to this, it's very common to show the different stages of maturity as you continue to digitalize or build your automation environment for your site and for your enterprise. And what's interesting as you look at the different phases of maturity, a lot of the effort and markers are based around integration of systems and also digitalization or digitization of workflow. And so, as you look at the different stages and contemplate, where are we at right now? If you look at the, one stage later, and look at the items that are required to, move you into that stage, there's really nothing here that states specifically a lot about AI until we move into that step 5 or stage 5 and stage 6, around being predictive and proactive and automating your operational controls and having self-diagnosing and self-healing equipment. So the thought here is that, or the message here is that there's a lot of work required to get your foundation in place that will put you in a position where you can ultimately realize the benefits of having that sensor in place that you don't have in place today. So we're going to continue with that theme, but before we move forward, we're going to move to a poll, I believe. So you want to go to the next slide? There we go. So if you reflect on where you might be today, pick where you think, what's most accurate for your site currently between the 6 options. See what kind of results we get back here.
So typically, if I can
There we
comment,
go.
the level 2, level 3 are typically what people would locate themselves in. It's just early stages of digital maturity, and I think that's what we see on the poll results.
Yeah.
Silos, connected plant, a little bit of predictive plant. Yeah. So
Yes.
good.
Yep. So that's as I expected also. So, most will rate themselves in that connected plant state. So if you can go to the next slide, Johan. The question then becomes, what do I do about all these shiny objects that are coming at me, right? Because they are going to be attractive. And in some scenarios, you're going to feel like they're going to be, that mechanism for me to, solve a lot of my challenges or problems. And I think reality is that, we don't want to put the cart before the horse. And I expected to see that most would, the majority would come in at the connected plant stage. The question becomes, what do I do? What do I need to be doing to build that predictive plant, then the adaptive plant? Obviously, for most organizations, or at least certainly for many, the autonomous plant is not going to be a reality. It just wouldn't be practical, but certainly getting to that predictive and adaptive plant makes sense. And I'm not saying that, to not look at the shiny object, but consider the shiny object with respect to where's your foundation at right now, and do you feel like you have it completely established, firmly established? And going back to Johan's scenario of the sensor to workflow scenario, if you now have access to data from a sensor that's been put in the field, how does your workflow change, or how should your workflow change to ensure that you would take appropriate action when that sensor is telling you something that requires action? And so having that foundation in place where you move from sensor to workflow is a necessity. And that could mean, do you have an appropriate event management environment in place for your facility? What's the method to close the loop? Is the information being passed to your reliability team in a manner that allows them to not only see it, but also take action in a timely manner? And then what other team members need to see that same information? What information should your operations or your production team be seeing? Should your safety team be seeing something at the same time? What about your quality team? And as I present, this transition of, ultimately deploying technology, setting the foundation around doing the best job you can managing your data, then establishing all the necessary workflows that allow you to digitalize appropriately and effectively. Those are key. a key element today and moving forward is preparing your workforce. So it's not only having the data and moving the data and having the right process in place, but having your people prepared and trained to take advantage of the information, the data. What you'll find as I'm presenting is that the tools that allow you to build the foundation also are now employing AI tools that allow you to deploy them efficiently. So yes, AI is even being built into building the found, or it's included as a part of the process to build the foundation as you prepare. And then lastly, stay focused on solving problems. That shiny object in some cases could be a scenario you might end up investing in a scenario where you've got a shiny object that is then looking for a problem. You're best served by identifying common problems or problems that you're facing at your site, and then ultimately, investing in the tools to solve those problems. And I put down increasing productivity, of course, accelerating training, key item. Can we help our team members be proficient as quickly as possible moving forward? This is a big topic, especially with our more transient workforce that we're faced to work with today in all aspects of our business, in all departments. Obviously, we want to reduce rework, minimize downtime. Make sure we're doing things to ensure maximum availability. So we're going to go through this process of just looking at a few tools on the data, workflow, and workforce readiness side that will support ultimately your position to be ready to take on more and more of these shiny objects and tools that come your way moving forward. So Johan, if you can go to the next slide, that'd be great. Okay, I know a lot of you have been working to build your data environment. The fancy terminology today is building your data fabric, but it is a necessary step to ensure that the tools that you ultimately deploy have access to the data they need to have access to, and that the data is in an appropriate state for them to take advantage of, for you to take advantage of these tools. And the other reality is that there's just going to continue to be a data explosion in an industry, right? So there's all sorts of data that you have access to today. There's going to be more tomorrow, and making this investment to ensure that you can move the data efficiently in a modular fashion, so that you can take advantage of predictive analytics and remote monitoring and see all the KPIs that you need to see, and have some, put yourself in a position where you can have collaboration with other team members across your enterprise. And that's a big benefit, or that's a big reason why you would build this data infrastructure across your enterprise, is so that everybody in your organization has ultimately access to the same data and can work together to solve problems. So to go to the next slide, Johan, it's a process to get your data strategy set, and I've listed sort of a bunch of the different contents or stages you need to go through to ensure that your data strategy is sound, around acquiring data, creating a unified namespace for your organization so that every team member can understand what the data means, finding a way to maximize or optimize your data quality. Of course, you need to find ways to store the data and make sure that it's available all the time and it's secure, and that you have the right visualization tools, because there's a lot of visualization tools out there that you can leverage. And once all that's in place, then you can focus on doing analysis and operationalizing the data, and get to the point where you can build some knowledge contextualization, which would be, for example, leveraging agentic AI. So building agents that begin to know your facilities and can provide you responses very, very quickly and in context. One key element on the data building scenario is that a big change from the past is that we're not only now looking at time series data, but we're also looking at non-time series data, or what we would call unstructured data. So by building this data fabric, this OT data hub, it puts you in a position where you have equal access to that temperature measurement or that vibration measurement, while also having access to all of your data from your CMMS or from your MES or from your connected worker system, whatever systems you're using in your facility. As an example, I'm highlighting one tool that's emerging currently to allow you to do a better job with data quality. And DataWise is the one I'm highlighting here, but DataWise is one that offers 10 different machine learning engines to look at time series data to understand whether or not that time series data is of appropriate quality. And so just one tool that you can start using moving forward, so that as you evolve, you can feel really good about trusting the data that you're seeing and making sure you're taking action on data that's of appropriate quality. And furthermore, as you deploy agentic AI, for example, you can feel good that your agentic AI tools have the data in a properly contextualized manner, and with the data being of the appropriate quality. So lots of steps here on the data management side, but that's just level one, right? That's the first layer. If we move forward to the next layer, Johan, optimizing daily workflow. Definitely a key item today in the industrial manufacturing space. How can we digitize and optimize daily work, standard work, to maximize equipment uptime, ability, and help with the care routines that your team members will have with your assets. And so, one of the things that I'm highlighting a tool here called Augmenteer. Augmenteer is a connected worker environment, and Augmenteer provides a mechanism for you to digitalize all of your procedures in your facility, not only your maintenance and repair procedures, but all procedures that become digital work instructions for your team members, and allow your team members to be guided through work as required for them to be effective. And the whole idea here is that the movement of procedures into the electronic state has generally not always been easy or desirable, because it just takes so long to generate those procedures electronically. With the case of Augmenteer, bullet 5, you can take a procedure that's in a document, and there's an AI toolkit within Augmenteer that allows you to digitalize that with automation. So you're not actually creating those procedures yourself. You're using the AI tool to auto-generate those electronic procedures. It can do the same thing with videos. So if you want to take a video of somebody changing a light bulb, you record the video of the person changing the light bulb, and the AI tools within Augmenteer will translate that video into a electronic procedure for your team members. So lots of power here, and this is applicable, not only to managing assets, but it's applicable to your safety organization. It's applicable to your quality organization, to allow for more structured workflow, and essentially, providing the glue to ensure that you're taking care of all of the work that needs to be done. It's a very similar scenario on the safety side, where you might have a very capable EHS system in place that manages a lot of your regulatory requirements on the safety side, but it doesn't necessarily help to manage the workflow to ensure that all the work gets done and all of the reporting gets done as far as incidents and near misses. And so a tool like Augmenteer can really help to automate that workflow. Same is true on the quality side to provide all of the guidance for your team members so they're actually doing the work they need to be doing at the right time. And lastly, the tools within Augmenteer, for example, allow you to look at all of the tasks that your team members are doing and understand what tasks are taking longer than we think they should be, so that we can then make adjustments to improve how your team members are doing those tasks. So lots of AI insights into your overall workflow. So that's step two. Do I have the right workflow in place? Step three, workforce management, equally important, especially as you bring on new people into your facility. And it's not uncommon for me to talk to an end user today where 20 years ago they would say that a senior team member was somebody who's got 25 or 30 years of experience. You ask them that same question today, they might respond and say that a senior person now is somebody who has more than 5 years of experience. So they're just working with team members that have less experience overall. So this idea of workforce management in the industrial space is really important, again, across all of your different departments. And the goal here, obviously, is to digitalize this so that you can manage your team members and understand what they're capable of. And what's novel and interesting about Augmenteer, for example, is that you in the platform, it aligns your skill development with the way information is presented to you from a workflow perspective. So in other words, team members that have more tenure and more experience and have more certifications, they'll be presented with their workflow in a different manner than team members that are junior with less experience, with less certifications. So the workflow environment matches your skills, learning, and training state. And like many tools out there, there is a Gen AI suite for providing a bot for providing assistance while you're doing your work. And lastly, the tool does a really nice job of helping you to understand where your team members are at. And it also provides the ability for you to understand who on your team is most qualified to do certain work. So if there's a task that needs to get done, you can quickly go and check of everybody in my enterprise, even if it's not somebody at my site, of everybody who's got the most experience with this specific problem, who might be able to help us. So lots of elements here that are useful for the future. So if you feel good that you've got your data in place, your workflow sets, your people as prepared as possible and ready for adoption, then we can move on to the technology. So we go to the next slide, Johan. And there's so many tools out there, right? There's going to be, as I said, an endless number of agentic AI solutions that come out. There's also just a lot of tools that exist today that have been released that maybe are not AI, but they're really, really effective from an analytics perspective, and may use, in this case, BrainCube, a tool that uses machine learning and neural networks to provide information that becomes very valuable and helps you to take advantage of your data. So essentially, what a tool like BrainCube does is it allows you to monitor all of your KPIs, and just using monitoring center lines as an example, you can monitor all your center lines and track when you're underperforming at any time. But what the tool does is that for any of that underperformance, it's got the ability to identify what are the biggest contributors to that underperformance. So not only allows you to track that you're underperforming, but it also allows you to understand, why am I underperforming? At the same time, if you are performing really, really well across a KPI or multiple KPIs, it will do the same thing for you. It will help you to understand, why am I performing so well? What are really the big contributors to my great performance right now? So the point here is that there's great tools that have emerged will that will be available to you to allow you to solve problems and get you to that best possible performance that Johan talked about. So I will end it there and pass the baton back over to Johan.
Thank you, John. So we've seen a lot of these tools. Uh, what are the foundational elements to get to put these tools in place? Where here we go. We've got a table here, and we're going to look at that a little bit after. I'm going to explain to you all of these elements here, and in those various 6 stages of maturity. So how does it apply in the reliability and maintenance world? Well, let's look at what it is. In the pre-digital stage, Stone Age, if you will, very reactive, a lot of paper-based process, work orders, PMs are paper-based, very few predictive technologies in use, standalone applications with, not very much integration, and no master equipment list, no criticality ranking, no maintenance strategy, right? So that would be the level 1. Level 2 would be digital silos, more of a toddler stage, right? So we're starting to see islands of condition-based monitoring, so a little bit of oil, a little bit of vibration here and there. We can see some level of automation within the CMMS. We can see some analytics on demand with manual effort, and there is a start for master data to be implemented, like good master equipment list, good bills of materials attached to at least the most critical pieces of equipment, but not necessarily up to date, right? Not completely. That would be level 2. Level 3, typically what we see is where it starts to get a bit more connected, what we call the DX apprentice realm, where we're seeing very good deployment of master equipment list, criticality analysis, and full maintenance strategy built, right? That allows, organizations to deploy more predictive technologies, more IR, ultrasonics, vibration, you name it, right? Typically, at this stage, asset health is integrated in an asset performance management system. So it can be semi-electronic reporting, semi-electronic analytics. This is, still early stages, and there's starting to get some automation when it comes to tracking downtime and delays, right? So there are some tools out there like Pi and other tools that can automatically track downtime and delay and give you OEE, for example. If we move on one level, the predictive level, cyber teen rebellion, continuous improvement of the foundation. You're never done with the master equipment list and your maintenance strategy. There's asset performance management integrated with the CMMS, right? So it can be the maintenance strategy can be synchronized, the work orders can be synchronized, the parts list, etc., etc. All the activities are synchronized at this level. And there's also digital tablets to report, PMs, execute work orders, execute corrective work orders, execute, procedures with the help of tablets or digital tools like John mentioned earlier. That would be level 4. Level 5 would be where you start getting adaptive and really some kind of a wizard in terms of tech, right? So typically here you have a clear workflow of who or what does what, right? And this is very, very, very important that at this point you start having data segregation and what sensors do what comes from the live sensor, the wireless sensors, the wired sensors, so live monitoring, the PLC, etc. So this is where you're starting to see your live analytics. So really at level 5. And level 6 would be a full end-to-end integration with the process control that is fully automated. We talked about PLC. There's feedback loop from the sensors, the alarms, and all of this is, self, fed in the machine learning type of programs and modules that you have put in place. So these are the 6 levels here. And again, redefine exactly in that table. So if you want a good summary of those 6 levels and what it takes in terms of maturity level to go from one level to the other, well, feel free to grab that table, grab a snapshot, or look at the recording once again. This is what it takes to go from one level to the other. And yeah, how far would you go? How far would you go? Level 1, level 2, level 6. Let's say if you had a magic wand and you're the king of your organization, where would you go? If you have unlimited budget and you have 5 years to execute your mandate as the king of your organization, where you think you'll go? Let's look at the results. The results are showing adaptive plant, right? Autonomous operations. I have a comment. We'll go as far as we can as long as we have a job. I like it. I like the humor. That's true. That's true. I can see adaptive plant seems like the most reasonable answer based on you. I have to say I agree with you guys. For now, fully autonomous operations, like we've said in the beginning of that presentation, seems a bit far away from us. Again, it can come sooner than we think, but at this point we're not there. So yeah, but the level 5 seems like something that is reachable by most organizations, as long as you have, the infrastructure and the data. So you need a roadmap to get there, right? Based on data, process, culture, technology, right? So build a roadmap that fits your reality. Here we put an example of a roadmap, right? So what it takes for data, process and workflow, people and culture, technology. Again, that's really maintenance and reliability oriented, right? But yeah, when we talk about data, you've got to have your master data properly set up in your CMMS, do your criticality ranking analysis, and then after a while, use data lake in historians, right? This is level 5 type of implementation, but still should be part of your roadmap, right? So yeah, I hope you're ready. I hope well you gained a lot of knowledge and insights from this presentation. Again, foundational elements are very important when it comes to DX and AI implementation. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. Appreciate your participation. Uh, as usual, you have our contact information, myself and John's. John, thank you very much for being part of this webinar today. I hope you're still there, John. Okay.
I'm still here. Thank you.
No worries, John. Do we have any questions in the audience?
There's one that came in through there's one that came in through the chat, Johan.
Okay. Okay, so one ongoing issue with CMMS is that work order details are usually entered in a natural language within the long text field, making it challenging to extract this information from SAP for analysis, right? It would be helpful to have an AI assistant method to data mine. Yeah, true. That's an excellent comment, Leonardo. Thank you for this. True. Some CMMS and I think the, the big ones that we can think of, they are embedding more and more AI tools. I wouldn't be surprised that this has already been thought of or will be deployed in the near future. For sure, you're right, Leonardo. That seems like a great idea.
Yeah, we'll look at that one, Leo. That's a great thought. Thanks for sharing that. We'll come back to you on that.
Yeah. And the thing is, most of the SAPs and the Maximovs of this world, the newer versions may have AI functionalities. Typically, those newer versions it takes time to roll these out on organizations. The first time I saw, the last time I saw, sorry, the brand new version of SAP, I think it was like a year and a half ago, and I was like, I was looking at, I was looking at the screen at the demo, and the gentleman who was presenting looked, he saw that my eyes were like, whoa, what's that? And he said, yeah, I know, this is SAP. This is really not the SAP I was used to. I'm still used to the older version with all the colors, and the green and the blue and the yellow icons. Yeah, the brand new versions have very cool features. So if you can look around with your organization, if you can be bumped up to these new versions, well, maybe you can benefit from all these AI tools, which I'm sure are already embedded. We've got a comment about ISO 14224. Yes, it's definitely a great standard when it comes to master data taxonomy, how to list the failure codes, the failure modes, how to properly organize an asset hierarchy. A very interesting reading. If you suffer from, insomnia, well, you should read ISO 14224 because it will make you sleep just like this. It could be very boring, right? But I should not say that. As a reliability specialist, I should not say that. There's a lot of great content. We use it a lot when we do a master data project. And I have one last question. Our thoughts on Industry 4.5.0. Well, Ian, that's a great question. My point is that most of the organizations we work with are not even at Industry 4.0. They're still struggling with Industry 3.0, which was automation in the 80s or 90s. So 5.0, amazing, great, as long as you put in place everything that we've mentioned throughout that presentation. John, I don't know if you want to add something about that.
No, I think that I mean, obviously there's a lot of rhetoric right now about that, about rebellion, and so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But we're a ways away from that for sure.
Exactly.
Lots of work to do in the meantime.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for your time. Today it's almost the end of this webinar. Next month, our good friend Alain Pellegrino, the president of Reliability Solutions, will be hosting a webinar in partner with the CIM. It's the Canadian Association of Mining Industry. So you can register for free for this webinar. It's going to be about how to drive efficiency and resilience in the midst of economic turbulence. Very interesting topic by our good friend Alain, whom you've already seen in a couple of webinars. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for your time today. Really appreciate it. John, thanks a lot, and hope to see you around in a few weeks. I'll be in Chicago in a few weeks. So all right.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everyone, and let's turn downtime into availability. Bye-bye.